Okay, hello, good afternoon and good morning to people on the call. This is our October 2023 St. Paul's Speaker Series. Today we're going to have representatives from microfinance partners in Africa that are going to be discussing with us about their programs. So I'll let them introduce themselves in a little bit. But about the Speaker Series, this is a podcast that we do for alumni of St. Paul's Secondary School, which is based in Mulungushi, Kabwe in Zambia. But they're all over the place, as you can see, all over the world. And their podcasts are meant to discuss important issues pertaining to development in Zambia and development, personal development, and also development of the country. So we bring in experts such as yourselves to talk to us about different things, and this is what we're doing today. So the participants you see also include people from our sister schools. For example, we have people from Chipembi, which is a boarding school for girls, and this was our sister school in Zambia. Sometimes we have people from other schools as well, and friends and supporters of the program, like Ms. Shkapwasha here. So from MPA, we have Mr. Piechowski. He's one of the board members of Microfinance Partners in Africa. And then we have Ms. Leah Brinson, who's the director for development, or development director. And also we have Ms. Prim Mungwari, who's a program director for MPA. So with that introduction, and I'll let you share the PowerPoints. And we'd also like to welcome our friend, Mr. Tapiwa. Good morning.
Oh, good morning. Thank you so much, Prof.
Thanks for joining, Cappy.
Yeah.
Oh, no worries.
Tap, you know this shirt. Can you see the shirt from the golf tournament?
Yeah, sure. I see it. It looks nice on you, Prof.
I see. So Paul, please go ahead and share the PowerPoint. Or Leah.
Yep, you have it.
Thank you.
Yeah, as we start, I'm Paul Piechowski. I spent 45 plus years in banking, and I retired several years ago. I was looking for an opportunity to get involved with a cause, and I looked at many different charitable organizations, and I came across MPA, and I was intrigued with their notion of basically moving people out of extreme poverty and giving them a chance to lift themselves up and have some dignity in life. And so I was happy that they accepted me on the board, and I'm really happy to be here. And I'm fortunate enough to have two brilliant ladies with me today that without their heart and soul and their devotion, a lot of the programs that we see and you'll see in the future here wouldn't be possible. So with that, I'll turn it over real quick to Lee and to Prim.
Hi, my name is Lee Brinson. I'm the Development Director of Microfinancing Partners in Africa. I've been with the organization about 2 years now and had the great experience for the first time in January to travel to Kenya and Uganda to see our programs firsthand. So you'll come back to me in a little bit, but I'm so glad you all are each here today and we can't wait to talk with you.
Hey, I am Prim Mungwari. Like Paul said, I am MPA's programs director. I guess from my accent, I am also from Southern Africa. I'm from Zimbabwe, born and bred. I've been in the States for about 5 years now, and I really love working with MPA because it connects me to home. I can relate to the problems that I'm working with, that I'm trying to tackle, and I love the fact that we're giving back. So yeah, thank you guys for coming.
Right, we're going to dive right into our PowerPoint, and Paul is going to start.
Yeah, and so a little bit beforehand, I joined the board in January of this year and was fortunate enough to go with some of these people and others to Zimbabwe and to Zambia. And, I heard about the mission. I heard about basically supporting people in their mission of growing themselves and getting out of extreme poverty. But until you actually go and visit and see what MPA is all about and what they're doing with their partners in Africa on the ground, you really don't understand. And going through Zimbabwe and Zambia, I was able to meet a group of women that basically have a borehole that was drilled, clean running water, water for agriculture. They have a 5-acre farm that now has crops growing on it. They basically are growing chickens with eggs, and they're going to use those eggs to go out into the community and sell those eggs and form a team so that they can basically grow their own individual wealth and their community's wealth at the same time. Traveling through the country, it was fortunate that we were able to meet with groups that have been with MPA for several years. And those people, gave their testimonies of how before microfinancing, their children didn't have food, their children weren't educated, they had problems having their children have clean clothes. And through the programs at MPA, they lifted themselves up and their family up. And today, many of them are doing very well, and they have ambitions and they have a future, and they have a goal of some of them to basically own their own houses down the road in a couple of years. So all in all, the program, as I saw it, was very successful, and it's important that we have this mission in Africa. The first page of basically the PowerPoint is what is microfinancing. And as you can see, the father of microfinance is Muhammad Yunus. He basically started this thing many years ago. The whole mission of microfinance is pretty simple, the whole idea of it. It's basically involved in giving people or groups very small amounts of money. But with that money, they're able to basically start their own businesses and basically with that money be able to grow and help themselves and their community. I see that it does, it basically transforms people to be accountable for what they're doing in society, and that it helps them grow as individuals as well. Probably the most important part of the whole program is the coaching and the support. And in the case of microfinance of Africa, our organization, we have sandals on the ground that go to those groups and go to those community and lend support. And basically, if there is a problem, they work with the people to basically figure out a way to handle that problem and get over it and move on. So it's been a very successful program worldwide, and it's been a very successful program in a small way for microfinance. As you can see on the PowerPoint, as of 2020, there was $156 billion spent. It's interesting to see that 80% of the loans are basically going to women, and that 60% are basically used in rural areas. And it's not very uncommon.
May I interrupt you just one second?
Sure.
Yeah, the slide is not moving. So
the slides aren't moving?
No, on our side, no.
What do you see right now?
We see the starting slide.
Do you see what is microfinancing? No?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, we just see the first slide.
Give me 1 second. I'm gonna stop sharing
Sure.
and reshare.
Yep.
My laptop needs coffee, so it's waking up too along with everyone else.
I understand.
Okay. We're gonna try this one more time. Do you see what is microfinancing now?
Yes, we see Professor Yunus there.
That's it. That's good. So, as I was saying that, worldwide, $156 billion have been spent since, through 2020. 80% of the loans are to women, and 65% are in rural areas. Those statistics, even though MPA has only spent over its entirety $5.5 million, those statistics follow with much of what we do in terms of the number of women that basically are involved with us, and most of our work is done in rural Africa. So it's very similar to what is explained on this chart or in this graph.
All right, did we advance on your end?
No.
Does it say about MPA now?
No.
What is going on?
Maybe if you do the arrow down, that would work. Yeah, we see the about the MPA now.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, and so, what is the mission of MPA? And it's very simple. It's provide microfinancing in sub-Saharan Africa and empower people to lift themselves out of extreme poverty. That's really our mission. And, with that mission, our vision is to continue to support those people in a growing way and help them get out of extreme poverty and to lift themselves in a way of dignity. We have in our vision, we have plans to grow the opportunities significantly over the next several years. So, like I said, since the end of 2022, we're at $5.5 million. And as you'll see, the growth of the programs that we have are significant going forward. So our MPA was started by Sister Tony. Did it move? Did the chart move?
Yes, it did. Yes, it did.
Okay. We're successful. So it started about 17 years ago with Sister Tony, and she was on sabbatical for her religious order, and she traveled throughout Africa and met with people that not only were using microfinance, but basically people that were in extreme poverty that needed the support of microfinance. And she met with people that basically were doing microfinance programs throughout Africa. And she felt like this was an opportunity that was underserved and in the communities that she went to in sub-Saharan Africa. And she decided to come back to St. Louis and basically start her own charity working in sub-Saharan Africa. So we basically center everything that we're doing and have done in basically 5 programs. Our loan program, which is basically giving microfinance loans to individuals through 2022, has basically funded over $2 million of loans. What's unique about, I think, microfinancing is that these loans are very small. They could be as little as $100 to up to $1,000. And we support those people that receive those funds. And if there are problems and they need help, we have people on the ground that can go to them and work with them and help them enhance the programs that they're involved in. You can see our success rate is 90%. That doesn't mean that, there hasn't been issues in the past, but, there's been instances like COVID where these people were starting up businesses, but events outside of who they are stopped the programs from existing. And that didn't stop us from reinvesting monies to those people and help them grow their organization so that they could become profitable and do extremely well down the road. So I think our loan program is very instrumental in helping people grow. And one thing that I take away from it and being a banker is that these loans, these grants, don't have any collateral attached to them. We're not looking to securitize our loans. We're expecting our security really is in the people that receive these funds and their desire to grow and prosper. So I think it's a unique program and it's worked very effectively. Second, in 2009, we started our living loan program, which is really started in Uganda. And that program is for basically cows and delivering cows to people. And we basically send, if people are interested in growing cows, we put them through training so they understand how to care for a cow, how to nurse a cow, how to basically create a stable and an environment, a shed. And so we work with them, and there's a program for training. And once they graduate from that training program, they're given a cow. And they go out, and that cow generally can support their family with milk. And there usually is enough left over so that it can be sold in the communities that they're in. And the whole notion of a living loan is that once that cow becomes pregnant, that cow basically has a calf that we give back to our organization so that we can spread and give it to someone else. It's only the first calf that's given back. And our goals basically in between now and 2025 is to grow that program and actually have an additional breeding center for cows. And obviously our goal would be to spread that not only in Uganda, but throughout sub-Saharan Africa. Our health program is very unique. It was started in 2014, and it really centers around women's health and in pregnancies, and to ensure that a woman, as she goes through the cycle, that her baby and her are treated properly, so the risk of death or problems is eliminated through basically giving midwives access to ultrasound machines that can take the woman through her pregnancy cycle and hopefully give her education on how she should raise that child through the pregnancy process and hopefully deliver that child in a clean clinic versus at home. And there, our goal again is to basically raise those 22 ultrasound machines to over 40 here in the next 2 years. And again, it's to grow the clinics and to basically grow the opportunity. Somebody asking a question? I guess not.
I don't think there's a question, just sound on their mic.
Okay. And then clean water started with for us in 2018. And again, that program is twofold. We give out water filters that people can basically go to the river, bring water to their location and cleanse the water through the filtration system. It basically doesn't alleviate, though, the amount of time a woman or a person has to go to actually get the water, bring it back, clean it, and then use it. Obviously, the better way to go is to build these boreholes. And, you know, as of 2018, we had 6 wells. We probably almost have, I think maybe through the rest of this year, we'll be up to 8 wells. And our goal is to basically add over the next 2 years an additional 20 wells throughout sub-Saharan Africa, which again will help in sanitation. It'll help in growing crops or raising animals. And it'll be, you know, a vital thing that people will need in the future. And we hope that that program will be successful. And then finally, the 5th part of our program is the education program. And this is where we have the individuals that run schools recommend candidates for scholarships. And that person, they go through a vetting process. And here in St. Louis, we basically make the decision on which individuals, which child we would like to support in basically one of those programs. As you can see that, you know, we've basically done a fairly good job of, you know, $868,000, $60,000 have been spent, you know, so far. What our goal is through 25 is to basically set up 1,000 scholarships for children in labor camps and in poverty-stricken areas. So that number that you see there is going to grow considerably over the next couple of years. The interesting thing about the education program is that those children that get scholarships have mentors. And I was actually afforded the opportunity to sit down with one of those mentors with their students. And it's incredible how that person gives them both spiritual and moral support to finish their education, work hard, and see the goal at the end of the tunnel. And so I think that program has been very effective, and it'll be more effective as we go in the future. So now I'm going to turn it over to Prim, and Prim's going to talk about where we are and give you more detail about all of our programs.
Okay, thank you, Paul. Thank you again, guys, for coming to listen to us. So like I said, I'm the programs director, so I'm going to just run you through our programs and where we serve, and a little bit about the impacts that we've had so far since we started. You know that MPA is, I think, 17 years old, so we are a teenager. We're not yet perfect, but we are working towards perfection. And we are hoping to partner with, people on the ground, people who have grown in these countries. And I hope that this is the beginning of a beautiful relationship. I'm probably not telling you anything new because as Africans, I think this is our daily bread. We know a lot of things that are represented on the screen here, but we are working in 6 African countries, including also the island of Zanzibar. So these areas are areas that have been chosen for programming primarily because of the need that was there in our countries. So we're working in the Democratic Republic of the Congo. We've been doing this since 2014. You know the history of the Congo because of the resource curse. There's mass displacement of people. There's lack of formal economic structures, a lack of a formal banking system in some instances, and the people definitely need some sort of access to financial services that is not available to most of them. There's a lot of income inequalities in Congo. This is the same thing with Kenya. When we look at income indices, while Kenya is one of the most developed countries, or arguably one of the most developed countries in Eastern and Central Africa, it still has high economic inequalities among its people. The poverty rate in Kenya is about 29.4 and a life expectancy of 61, which is not a lot because, as you know, life begins at 40. We are working in, and no, I'm not 40, if I'm still 27. We're working in Tanzania. We've been working in Tanzania since 2010. In Tanzania, we have 3 programs, the water program and the loan program, and also the education program. Poverty rates 49.9, life expectancy 66. You know that Tanzania has very poor infrastructure, limited access to financial resources, limited access to markets, and until recently, questionable policies even in education, educating the girl child, etc. So our programs are trying to address some of these things directly as we walk people out of extreme poverty. In Uganda, we started in 2009. Uganda and Kenya are the oldest partners that we have, and Uganda has the full complement of all of our programs. So in Uganda, we work in an area called Masaka and have started working in northern Uganda in the refugee camps close to South Sudan. We're working in Moyo, in Arua, and Uganda has like the largest population of the people that we're serving because of the refugee complement in these programs. We have the health program, which we call the Safe Women program. We have the education program, water, cows, and loans in Uganda. Their life expectancy is 63, and they've got a poverty level of about 42.2%. Uganda is agro-based, and I think as Zambians and Zimbabweans, you guys know the problem with having an economy that's strictly agro-based. There's problems of low productivity, there's problems of climate change, there's lack of access to markets, and then also there's questionable governance and corruption in Uganda. So this makes it very ripe for the assistance that MPA gives to the people on the ground. In Zambia and Zimbabwe are like the new kids on the block. we got into Zimbabwe and Zambia just before I started working at MPA. So we've been in these countries for 3 years, and then COVID happened. So most of the work that we're doing in Zimbabwe and Zambia has been slowed down significantly because of the effects of COVID, not being able to go and personally mentor the groups, not being able to expand the groups, etc. But we have expanded, and we are happy to say we also have the water program piloted in Zimbabwe and Zambia as of this year. So in Zambia, I think you might be interested to know, we do work in Kasama, we work in Mungwi, we work in Mazabuka, and we have some groups that are in Lusaka. In Kasama, for sure, we have some scholarship programs, and we're starting some groups with women. When we went for our last trip in Zambia, I think one of the things that really made an impact for me was the work that the women in Mazabuka were doing, just their tenacity and their never say die sort of spirit. And of all our groups in all the 6 countries that we were working, something that was very out there about the Zambian women was, at every point in their milestones, they stopped to celebrate. And I think this is something that I would encourage our other communities to do, because I think it also pushes them forward. It also marks that we've done something, and it's something that's worth celebrating, that I think we can also learn from. In Zimbabwe, we've got the education program and the loan program and the water program. I will not bore you with the details of the problems in Zambia and Zimbabwe. I think you guys know it, because there are a lot of Zimbabweans that are now coming to Zambia to get some sort of economic redress. So yeah. At MPA, all our programs are addressing some sort of a poverty indicator, because a lot of the questions that I get when I'm presenting is, your name is Microfinancing Partners in Africa, but why are you not just doing microfinancing? So all our programs work in alignment with the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals and are addressing some sort of poverty indicator. We are looking at the symbiotic relationship that's there between poverty and health, poverty and education, poverty and a lack of access to water and things like that. Paul has explained the program areas, and they're there on your screen. And yeah, next one. And so our goal is to try and break that cycle of systematic poverty by attacking those indicators that we spoke about. So a lack of income is going to lead to a lack of education. A lack of education is going to probably lead to poor healthcare access, poor outcomes in life, living in unsanitary conditions, lack of access to clean water, lack of food security, and things like that. Poverty is a major cause of illness and health, and a barrier to accessing healthcare when needed. The relationship is always financial. There's an economic loss when you have to walk 34 kilometers to get water. There is productive time that is lost. There's an economic loss to not going to school. There's an economic loss to missing work because your child is sick. So I think from the get-go, it's very important to know that relationship between the programs that we have. So diving deeper, Paul has mentioned some of the programs and exactly what we do in these programs, but I just wanted to highlight them under these three bullets: what the need was, what we are doing, and the impact that we've had so far. So the Living Loan Program, or the COW program, is mainly in Uganda. So the need when it was started was because subsistence farmers in rural Uganda were struggling to grow enough to feed their family. And 70% of these farmers would rely on livestock as an income source. In Southern Africa, I think at least in Zimbabwe, the value of a cow is not lost on anyone. In most rural areas, it's actually a status symbol to have a cow, not only because it produces milk, but because of the economic gain of having a cow, even in agriculture and things like that. So for the living loan program, when it was started, it was not just a cow, but it was a symbol of some financial freedom. What MPA does, and I know that Paul has alluded to this, is we train farmers and help them to improve their agricultural practices and help them to achieve some sort of best practices. Once they've been trained and they're practicing best farming practices and techniques, they are then given a heifer or a pregnant cow. This has been impregnated by sexed semen. So we're trying to make sure that the first calf that is going to have is going to be a female calf. When the calf is born, the cow produces up to 24 liters of milk daily, which is enough to feed their family, which is enough to sell, and which pays the bills for that family. So under this program, one of the interesting thing that has happened as a result of this program is that in areas where we started in Masaka, they were having so much milk in that small little village that they started having what they call milk collection centers, where big dairies would come and collect milk from these farmers. So the amount of money that they were making was not a joke. It was like serious money. They were able to take care of their children, send them to school. They were able to improve their farms and their farming techniques. They were able to just raise their standard of living because of that cow. And because the cows that they are passing on back in the program are female cows, it gave an opportunity for the rest of the village to also join into the program. So one thread that you're going to see in all of our programs at MPA is that nothing is a handout. So we just don't give handouts, but we give hand-ups. There's always a give back to the program that doesn't benefit MPA itself, but that benefits the people in the villages. So if you get a cow, you pass on a cow. If you get a loan, you repay the loan, and that loan helps someone else and doesn't necessarily come back to MPA. Under this program, we have funded more than 2,500 cows since 2009, and a lot more have been passed on. So for every cow that's funded, there's one that's passed on to someone else. We have funded a breeding center to make sure, because initially the cows were coming from Germany. So we now have a breeding center where the cows are coming from a local source. 57% of cow project farmers have grown their savings from 0 to 50, and a lot more farmers are getting into the program. Under the loan program, the United Nations estimates that 1 in 3 Africans is living below the global poverty line. So 1 in 3 Africans is living on less than $2.15 a day. I think now with the inflation, it's probably $2.45 a day. So what MPA does is we give these loans to individuals or to groups who also are investing something. We don't gather people and say, hey, we want to give you money. We look for people that are already doing something to work themselves out of poverty. And then we help them to boost their savings and access to a certain amount of money that they can use to start the income generating projects that they have. Because it's microfinancing, some of these loans are as small as $4 or $5, and for groups they can be bigger. There are a variety of income generating projects that our partners have done. There's sewing, there's handbag making, there's things like salons for hairdressing, ice cream making. It's a lot. The impact that we've had is that we have reached to date, I think, more than 40,000 individuals because our groups keep growing. We have trained over 6,000 groups now. And of the people that are in our microfinancing groups, 73% have built their savings from 1 month's expense to at least 3 or more month expenses that they have as an emergency pot, or sometimes as money that they can do to do something else. 80% of our group members report increased income after at least 1 year of retiring their first loan. And this is no easy program because we are working with people who are in extreme poverty. To understand these numbers better, I think you need to really understand what poverty looks like in Africa. It's not something that, I'm broke, but I still have $50. Broke is broke, broke is I have nothing at all. So we're lifting people out of this I have nothing at all, to I now have something else. I now have something else that's not just money, but that's even hope, that's even dignity to be able to do something. Our water program, is fairly new compared to the other programs, but we realized as we were going through the programs that water changes everything. Unclean water is the greatest common threat to human life. It's a threat to education, because a lot of girls don't go to school because they have to get water. It's a threat to economic advancement, and about 115 people in Africa die every hour due to waterborne diseases or from unclean water. Some children and women have to walk up to 5 kilometers daily to get water. So you can see the economic loss that's there, the time that's spent going up and down. And you know that when you're carrying water, you're not doing it once a day. So at MPA, we have funded boreholes, a lot like the ones that are in the picture, and also some that are solar powered. And we also have made available some water filters. So our approach is not just making sure that the water that they have is clean, but to also make sure that they actually do have water. And some of the boreholes that are there are just supporting the villages that didn't have water, but some are also supporting income generating projects that are under our microfinancing programs. So if we have, for example, a group that has a farm and they don't have water, or that have pigs and they don't have water, they could get a borehole, and that borehole will help to support the programs that they have. We have funded over 1,275 water filters. We have 11 boreholes. One is in Mungwari. I'm just trying to think of things that would mean something to you. One is in Mungwari. We might get one in Mazabuka. We have one in Marondera in Zimbabwe. And we have water filters in all of the areas that we are working. So the education program is also one of my favorite programs, maybe because I'm a scholarship student myself. So I really do realize the importance of scholarship in affecting our outcomes in life, because I know that without my scholarship, I don't think I'll be sitting in front of you right now having this discussion. So due to extreme poverty in Africa, about 52.5 million children of primary and secondary school age are not attending school in sub-Saharan Africa. A child is likely to earn at least 25% more per year of completed secondary education. So if they complete Form 1, as the child who has completed grade 7 or Form 1, and the child who has completed Form 4, they're at a different economic earning level. And I know this is real because, we are living it in Zimbabwe and Zambia. You know the difference between this person went to O level, this person didn't, this person went to A level, and this person didn't. Under the scholarship program, we have funded to date 1,001 students. This is significantly up from what we had last year because we've increased the funding on scholarships. I'm happy to brag that one of our scholarship students in Zambia was able to get a presidential award for an innovative program where they had a drone. It's like an agricultural program. They had a drone with a little camera that flies over farms and takes pictures of the crops and sends that explains what's going on in the field without the farmer actually getting there. These are innovative programs that the children in our scholarship program are coming up with. This means that this person might not have had access to education and missed this opportunity. So we are churning out people who are actually doing something with their lives. In Kasama, we have a scholarship program, but I think they go to a school called Luwingu or something like that. I didn't know that most of you were from Kasama. I would have made more of an effort to find out who they were and what exactly they do, because maybe you might know them, maybe they are your matron's kid or or your next door neighbor or someone like that. But we've got children in the program that are doing big things. We've got children who are as young as creche level, whose parents are also in microfinancing programs and don't have anyone to leave their kids with. So we give them scholarships to go to school. And then we also have young adults that are in these programs. We have kids that are in medical school. We have kids that are doing physiotherapy. We have nurses that are going to school on the scholarship program. So it's like a wide range of students who are coming in and out of the programs depending on their needs. Under the education program, we also try to improve the infrastructure of education, which means sometimes we're helping schools who don't have toilets to have toilets. But this is not like our key focus. Our key focus is mainly the scholarships. And then last but not least, the health program. Paul alluded to this. Our main thrust is to help to low maternal mortality. And that's why the program is, though it's the health program, we loosely call it the Safe Women Program. We have helped mothers to get access to prenatal care, to get access to education, and to also give them a microfinancing project or an income generating project. Most of the people that started off in the health program were women who had suffered a fistula. And for those that don't know, it's a tear that happens from the vagina to the anus, which unfortunately would make the person who's suffering from it leak feces and urine uncontrollably. So most of the times these women will be chucked out of their villages. And when MPA went into these areas, they thought that, and the partner suggested that we do something to address these women's need to get them back into the economic, into the financial and economic system so that they may be able to earn a living and to reintegrate them with society. So our program was around that. They get a repair of their fistula, and then they get some sort of income generating program. When it started, would make sure that that woman would have at least 2 friends who are not in the fistula program to help her so that she reintegrates back into society, because most of them had been chucked out of society. Under this program, we have given at least 1,500 post-fistula women finances to start a program. Most of them have got piglet programs or other income generating programs. We have trained midwives in 22 village health centers, mainly in Uganda. We have also sourced through some partners about 22 ultrasound machines that have been placed in those areas. And then of all the women that have come through the doors of these village health centers after the ultrasound machine, 0 of them have endured obstetric fistula during labor. So when they have gone for ultrasound and then they see these women are having twins, or they see that they're having complications, they are referred to a bigger hospital while there's still time, and they don't have to go through obstructed labor, or they don't have any surprises while they're having their delivery. So again, I hope from my explanation, you kind of see what our programs do, how they are sort of trying to address poverty indicators, and then how we also link them to some sort of an economic gain, or how we sort of make sure that everyone gets some sort of a microfinancing loan to be able to get out of poverty. I know I say a lot and I speak real fast, so I'm not going to be offended when you guys ask questions. And trust me, when we talk about the health program as an example, we can do it for 1 hour. So this is like a very, very, very condensed presentation to just make sure that everybody doesn't leave their workplace or wherever you are at 7 p.m. But you can ask questions. I am ready for them when Lee is done.
All right, so we're back to Lee Brinson. I'm the development director at MPA. And you've heard about our amazing programs from both Paul and Prim. So what does that mean? Since 2007, MPA has provided funding to our partners in the 6 countries that we work through to the tune of about $5.2 million across the 5 programs. So you can see the lifetime funding to our partners in the different areas. You can see kind of the programs that have been around the longest have the higher amount. One thing to note about all of our programs in every area is that we do not undertake a program that is not sustainable long-term without us. We do not want to be one of those organizations that comes in, starts something, and then it can't be continued once we move on to another partner. So every program has built-in sustainability, and that's part of the design of the program. So no one would be dependent on us for this to continue long-term. Another thing that I find unique and incredible about NPA's program is that all the work is done through local partners. So if you're familiar with the philanthropic landscape worldwide, you see a lot of investment dollars, donations going to charities or different organizations that don't work locally. So they could all sit in the US and then try to solve a problem, maybe in Uganda or Kenya, without actually talking to the people on the ground that are living there and live in that environment every day. So every one of our programs has been started in conjunction and in partnership with someone local, some type of local group. So we have about 15 partners across our 6 countries, and our name is Microfinancing Partners in Africa. We even have the name partner in our name because it is that important to us. So who knows better the needs and what can help than the people who are living it every day? So you can see some of our partners are listed there on the slide. But what we do when we go and visit the countries, or we spend a lot of time with them on WhatsApp, is we listen. So we don't know everything. I know, right? Like, we don't know everything. So we have to listen and understand. I don't even think someone here could have come up with the Safe Women program with obstetric fistulas, because when I started here, I didn't even know what that was. Let's just be honest. So it's the listening and identifying of critical needs. So that is one thing that makes us very unique. We also use these local partners because they have trust built into the local communities. They know people there, they know how to get things done, they know the challenges. So our partners are key in our work. We could not do what we do without them. So we do vet our partners and make sure that they are best suited to address the needs, but we have amazing partners. I've met them personally. Prim works with them all the time. Paul got to see our partners firsthand. They're amazing, amazing people and groups. So every year, multiple times a year, we do a funding cycle where they present their greatest needs, what they need, and we work in conjunction with them. We provide training, oversight. So we call our partners that work there sandals on the ground. So there are sandals on the ground that, know what needs to happen to get done. So we do a lot of training with them to make sure we are working in partnership to get the results that we need. We gather and share data. They're constantly reporting success stories. We track results with our partners. And it is the reason we've been so successful over the years. So we met some amazing partners. I want to share something really cool with you. This year at our annual gala, which is coming up in April, we're having 7 of our partners from the 6 countries come to the US, come to St. Louis to share with our donors the mission. So some of these individuals have never traveled outside of Africa, and they are so excited. And I think we're even more excited to have them come here and kind of speak firsthand about the programs. Another key thing is microfinancing theory is applied to all programs. So we do get questions like, so how is microfinancing embedded in your education program? Or how does providing a cow mean microfinancing? What does why does an ultrasound machine help microfinancing? But hopefully through your lived experience or through what Prim has said, microfinancing is the key, we believe, to eradicating worldwide poverty and to eradicate poverty, it is beyond the income generation and economic impact, because how can you start a business if you don't have somewhere safe to live? How can you start a business if you don't have water? How can you focus on your business if your kids have diarrhea every day because you have unclean water? So as it started with loans and living loans, our programs have evolved, and you'll see on that timeline, they've evolved to address kind of that. I liken it to the basic needs hierarchy. Like, you can't get to where your income generating income if your basic needs aren't met. So our microfinancing theory is applied to all programs, and we do not believe in handouts. So we've seen this firsthand over and over again. If we were to go to someone that has benefited from our programs, I asked them when I was there in Kenya and Uganda, I said, what was the difference between joining this local, like this microfinancing group and starting your own business and getting a loan of $50 versus what would have happened if we would have just given you $50 one time? And they all say, well, if it was just one time, then I would have just spent it and then I would be back in the same situation. So that is the key to what we do. We do not provide handouts. We provide people with the opportunity to let themselves out of poverty and climb up out of poverty in a sustainable way, not a one-time handout. So everything that we do, even from the water filters to the wells, there's some kind of buy-in, and they allow the people to have dignity. So we heard over and over again, not only did you help me start a business, you restored my dignity because now I can provide for my family. Nobody wants to have to rely on a handout every month to be able to feed their family, provide shelter. So that's embedded in everything we do. So if you've heard about MPA, you're intrigued, you want to get involved, we would love that. So the thing that you can do most to help us at MPA is to help spread our mission and spread awareness of what we do. We're constantly trying to share what we found that worked. We have amazing programs, we have amazing partners, and we can do so much more if we had more funding. So we're constantly trying to spread the mission so more people can get involved with it. So what can you do? How does that look? You can help us without giving $1. Of course, if you want to donate, we would absolutely love that, especially coming from the fundraising director. But you could like us on LinkedIn, find us on Facebook, and share with your friends and say, hey, I found this organization today. I was on this webinar and now I want to tell you about it. Here's 3 things I learned, and ask them to like our page. That's a zero-cost way you can tell us. If you're a part of another group, especially of people that love and care about, you know, African countries, and we could get in front of them in some way, please let us know. We are always happy to do this presentation anywhere to help spread the mission. You can financially support. We have a monthly giving program where you can be a monthly donor, a one-time donation. We have our annual gala. I put the date in the PowerPoint as April 13th. We would love any and all of you who are here or want to come to St. Louis. We're based in St. Louis. We would love for you to attend. You get to meet our local partners. Time to volunteer. We have different committees working on water committee, education committee. We have finance, if that's your thing. We have a marketing and development committee. We're always looking for experts in those areas to help us forward our mission. And then lastly, we take between 2 and 5 trips a year to the 6 countries in Africa to see our programs firsthand. We do take people with us. So if you ever wanted to travel and kind of see what we do, we would absolutely love to have you. So here's contact information. Here's our names. This is an email address. We can also share all of our contact information in this PowerPoint with all of you. I'd love to get your emails so you can get our newsletters and whatnot. But I know we're getting close to an hour, but I'd love to open it up for questions.
Awesome. So yeah, this was an excellent presentation, and thank you so much, Prim, Lee, and Paul, for a wonderful presentation. We're going to have questions, obviously, from the group. But from my perspective, I think the most important thing is actually the word that Lee, you mentioned towards the very end, which is dignity. Coming from Zambia myself, having grown up there, I know that people are trying to make ends meet every which way. But if they're given an opportunity in a dignified manner, I think it does help for them to stay focused, to feel valued, because it's not condescending in any way. And your program seems to be doing that quite a bit. Another thing that I like about your programs is the issue of sustainability, because you don't want to just come in and out and disappear. Because people, they're in communities where they'll be there for a long time. And they want something that's long-term, that keeps helping them, and then they can, bring in other people as well. So that just continues down. Another thing that I like was what Prim said about the hands up instead of handouts. Obviously, you're going to find people that want a handout, but I think your mission is very clear that you want to help but not give a handout. And that coming, at the forefront of every discussion you have with your partners and beneficiaries, I think is really important. I have a few questions myself. The first one will be about the COW program, which is, I have a friend that actually runs Haifa, I think Haifa, Zambia. Yeah, he's in Chipata. Yeah, his name is Elia Manda. He's in Osaka now, but yeah, they do a similar program. So I wanted to know why the cows come from Germany and not places in Africa. And then the other question I had was, how much is the scholarship and at what grade level? Then the scholarship, I like that there's a mentoring aspect. I think that's very important. So that's really nice. I'm also very familiar with Kasama, Mungwi, and Mazabuka, and the celebration. So Prim, I'm happy you noticed that Zambians like to celebrate every milestone. We are a happy people, it's party after party. That's our thing. So yeah, I like that. The other question I had was, with the boreholes, do you charge for water? Like, what's going to make those things sustainable? Thank you.
Prim is just jotting down to make sure she addresses all your questions, and then she's got them all.
Okay.
Perfect.
I think one of your questions was how much is the scholarship? So under the scholarship program, what we do here in St. Louis, like we said, everything is really centered around our partners. What we do is we have a call where we tell our partners, apply for scholarships, and they tell us their need. So sometimes their needs doesn't just mean school fees. Their need may mean a dignity kit for a child. It might mean books. It might mean exam fee. And that's what we pay. So it's on a needs basis. And we at MPA don't decide, we're going to give, Amos $20 and we're going to give Sophia $100. We let the partner decide. So they ask, we give the money. Maybe they'll ask for, 100,000. No, we only have 60,000. And then they decide which kid gets what and to what extent. So we really don't dictate how much goes to what kid when. I can tell you from the data that we have that on average, I think a high school scholarship is about 345. And so I can tell you those ranges about how much it is to educate a child's high school level in this country for a year. But I can't tell you exactly whether or not each and every child is getting that amount. Your other question was about how at the beginning of the CAL program, the CALs were coming from Germany. So we partner with people and with different partners. And I do think it was actually Haifa International that they first partnered with. And they had a specific breed of cow that they thought was going to be able to produce a significant amount of milk. I know it's not the Jersey cow because that's the popular milk breeding cow in Zimbabwe, but they had a specific breed, and that specific breed at one point was supposed to come from Germany. As the program went on, they saw that this was not sustainable because I think at a time, they also were saying you have to buy chicks from Germany, but they saw that this was not sustainable, and that's why we now have a breeding center where we are breeding our own cows in Africa and giving them to the program. So it was something that happened at the beginning, but it was also tied to the fact that we had a partner who was willing to pay for those cows to come from Germany, and it was at their dime. What we wanted was a cow. I hope that answers that question. And then in terms of the borehole program, so a lot depends on what the borehole is for. We don't charge people to get water. What happens, so I'll take an example of a well in Tanzania. So the partner will tell us that we have need, or we get information that they do have need for water. And then we ask them, what sort of skin in the game can you put in? The borehole is going to cost $5,000. Do you have any contribution that you want to put towards the borehole? Because we do believe that if we just give it to them, it's our borehole, it's not theirs. So we want the community to also participate. So most communities will tell you to what extent they can participate in making sure that the borehole is delivered to them. Some will offer to pay maybe transportation to make sure the drilling rig arrives. Some will say that we will build or secure the borehole. Some will say we'll maintain the borehole after it has been sunk, because we know that one of the biggest problems is a borehole comes and then it has a breakdown and then no one owns it, and it just becomes a white elephant. So a lot of the times, most of the communities will say after the borehole has been dug, in addition to A, B, C, D that we can give you now, we can also make sure that it is maintained. So because in every area that we work, we have some sort of a partner on the ground, that partner becomes responsible for maintenance. So in Tanzania, the example that I was giving you, the village itself says every month, every family that's benefiting from the borehole is going to pay $1. And that dollar is saved up for the maintenance of the borehole. So even after we have left, they have some sort of a fund that they themselves have organized that's going to make sure that the borehole is going to be sustainable. So would we say it's a charge? I don't think so. There are some models where they have said that anyone who's getting water from this borehole can pay maybe 30 cents every month. But for the most part, most of them have got some maintenance fee that they make sure the community is collecting to make sure that the borehole is sustainable as we go on. That's 3 out of how many questions so far? Is there another question that I neglected?
No, that was all. While my friends are coming in, is this a Catholic affiliated organization? And would you work with Marist brothers, not Marian brothers?
Yes, we will work with anyone. We are not affiliated to any religious groups, and we do have religious partners, but we are political, and we are not religious. Our founder is religious, but then the operations of microfinancing partners in Africa are strictly on a needs basis. So in Uganda, in Zanzibar, we have Muslims. And I guess since I talk too much and I've got the mic, one of my favorite anecdotes is about a group in Zanzibar. That's a group of Muslims who saw that there was money in piggeries. They wanted to get into that market. And because they were Muslims, they felt it would be unclean for them to actually handle the pigs themselves. So they hired another group to rear their pigs for them, and then they become employers. So we don't look at the person's religious affiliation when we're giving projects. And yes, we could work with the Marist brothers if they were to approach us and we vet them and they're a good partner.
Ladies and gentlemen, do you have any questions?
I have a question, 2-part question. Maybe it was already asked when I dropped off. I've heard all the good things that you've said about this program. And my question regards what your cost for money is, right? These are loans. What kind of repayment terms do you have for these loans? So, for example, why anybody can give you money if you have a good enough story. You know, why should I come to you for $50, $100 versus the next guy down the street that can give me $100. I understand the education piece of it, but what's the cost of money when borrowing from you guys? And then the other part is, are you 100% donor funded, or do you have some investors behind your funding? Thank you.
I'll take the second question. We are 100% donor funded. It started when Sister Tony did her sabbatical. She came back and had to do something. So it started with friends and family giving her money, and it's just grown over the last 17 years. But we are funded by an annual gala that provides a significant part of our money. We do have some grant funding, individual donors, but we are 100% funded by donors. And was your first question why you should donate to MPA, or why someone in one of our countries should work with us for microfinancing versus another organization?
It was basically, how much does it cost me if I'm a person in need of money from you guys, right? I get a loan from you. What are the repayment terms? I mean, how much is it going to cost me when all is said and done?
Okay, so each partner sets the repayment terms, so it could look a little differently, but one distinct thing to note is we give our partners grants to do microfinancing loans, but we don't get repaid. Like as MPA, they just keep lending that money. So most of the partners that form groups, their groups have an executive committee that decide the repayment terms. So a lot of times the groups are loaning to group members. The average is about a 10% payment rate, but it's all set locally with local standards, and like the groups approve the loan. So it's not, if you're thinking like they're going into a bank and requesting and it's strict repayment terms, it's a little differently because it's managed by the group. In one of the groups we were in northern Uganda, they were talking about keeping their savings in a box. And I'm fairly new. It was my first trip to Africa, and I lean over to Sister Tony. I'm like, do they mean a safety deposit box? And they're like, no, they brought out a wooden box with 4 keys, and like, that's how they access their money. So it's very interesting. Prim, do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, thank you for taking that, Lee. Maybe I wasn't clear when I was trying to explain the loan program, and like Lee said, from here, from St. Louis to whatever African country the loan is going to, it's almost like a grant. We tell them that this is a grant, and the condition is that those that are going to get the money are going to take it as a loan. So we work, for example, with the Maris brothers, and then they are a partner on the ground. They already have groups that are working. Think about maybe the women at your local church, the widows at your local church who are trying to do some sort of an income generating program. So they've been working with these groups for a long time. What these groups have been doing is savings, or maybe the merry-go-rounds, but they're not doing anything significant. So when we come in, we educate them, we teach them savings, we teach them about markets, we teach them about business, and then we give them a loan to start a business, either as a group or as individuals. So when they pay back, when that small group pays back that loan, they're paying back to the Maris brothers, who will then give it to the next group that needs the same loan. So the partner itself is the one who's doing the microfinancing. And as MPA, we are giving them grants and controlling, in a sense, the accountability around that grants to make sure that the money is growing and we're not losing the money and the groups are paying back, etc. So I hope that kind of makes sense. Like Lee said, most of the groups that we have fair repayment rates, and rates. 10% is the average, and on average, I think about 93% of the people who get the loans pay back the loans. Some don't because of debt, and during COVID, that rate took a tumble. But we do get the money back, but MPA itself is not getting the money back. We tried a model that included impact investment, where we would find investors here in St. Louis who would loan the group money and then the group pays back. But then there were a lot of problems with rates, and then also COVID hit, so that wasn't very successful. So for now, it's grants from MPA and then loans from the partner.
I have a question. Malama Augustine Chalwe. I'm based in Eastern Province. Sorry, I joined late. Maybe what I will ask might have been addressed already. I had technical challenges. My affiliation here is in two folds. One, I'm an individual entrepreneur. And then secondly, I belong to some cooperative. And as a cooperative, we've got intentions of venturing into fish farming. There's some half-acre land which is readily available. Now, as a cooperative, I've heard that you do give to individuals and also a collective group of or a collection of individuals. Now, my question firstly is, do you have a limit to the types of funding that you give? Do you give agricultural as in animal husbandry, or is it basically crop farming? And again, at an individual level, my question is, I have about 112 acres of land, which I intend to come up with some sort of a ranch to do with wildlife and also animal husbandry. Now, as an individual, what would I need to access your loans? And do you have formally designed forms, or do I have to write a proposal, or is there a format that I need to follow? Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Augustine. So for the process itself, you, Augustine, as an individual, would not be able to approach us, MPA, for a loan, like straight from us, but you would have to approach a cooperative who's a partner of MPA. So we are working with the partners that are on the ground. So if your cooperative wants to access or benefit from this, they'll have to apply for partnership. We'll vet them and see whether or not their values align with our values. And once they're partners, then they have access to loans. So again, we are looking for individuals who are already trying to help themselves, who have some sort of a savings culture. So within that cooperative, do you have any savings? And then where we can, we match the savings to increase the borrowing capacity that the members in the group have. So the group is the one that will decide whether or not they're giving you a loan for fish farming, or the group will apply to us and say, as the cooperative, we want to try fish farming, and then we give them the grant and they pay back to themselves, because the group itself now acts as a separate legal entity. They pay back to themselves, and that money is available for the whole group to borrow when it's paid back. I hope that kind of makes answers your question. So we are looking for sound business practices. We're looking for accountability, and the group decides whether or not that project is going to be viable.
Good morning. This is Herta. Quick question. What is the age range of the people you help? From what age to what age?
Interestingly, the majority of the group members in Southern Africa, I think women, the demographic is mainly women who are between the ages of 30 and I think 58. That's sort of the demographic that's there. So it's not very young people, but it's also not very old in Southern Africa. This is different in our earlier partners. The group members are fairly older. We do have some groups that are just full of young people. We went to Zimbabwe and we found a group called the Dream Girls, whose youngest member is 14. These are out of school youth who are trying to come up with some income generating projects to make sure that after they get a vocation, they can do more things. So yeah, so it's a mixed bag.
All right, thank you.
We have a question in the chat. It says, who are targeted in the microfinance And on the education scholarship, is it on selected program?
So though, again, all of this is dependent on our partner. We don't select the students ourselves. We give guidelines of what sort of students we want in the scholarship program. And a big part of that was we were trying to make sure that if your parent is in a microfinancing group and they're trying to set up an income generating project, and every time they try to do that, then there's school fees that's due. We can at least for a time make sure that we can help you with that school fees while you set up your business. So that was the thinking at the beginning. But as we went forward, we noticed that even other children would need the scholarship, children from child-headed families who were not in the microfinancing groups, and other children who were just identified as children who are in need. So, so we don't target. The partner tells us their needs. They decide whether or not this child needs any help, and then they help them. Did I answer that? Oh, okay.
Any other questions? These were great questions.
Other questions, John? Mr. Lumba, may you have a question? Go ahead.
I was trying to it was answered, but I think not completely. I was trying to find out the targeted group in the microfinance. Normally, it's about cooperative and all these things. And then Chalwe came in also with an individual thing, which you also has to pass through the cooperative. And I think for now, from my own perspective and study, it's like the groups are not, don't really do well. The responsibility is not really shown in the groups. So on that one, I don't want people to move away from that, but I think individually there is a very big commitment, which I'm looking at as at now. Because now, even now, people form cooperatives. What do they want? They want to benefit individually. And then it becomes very, very difficult when you target such kind of groups. But individually, if it is a grant or a loan, someone is. So, and then on the education programs, I said selected programs, because normally when you look at the scholarships, it's mostly education, which comes up. Programs like, for example, someone wants to become a doctor, the scholarships are very few. But for education part, you find that there are too many. So I was asking to say, do you select selected programs which you want people to sponsor into? Because I've seen in Zambia, very few would. I mean, they have taken a lot in the education sector. Thank you. I think that's what I wanted to.
Okay, thank you. So maybe I can start by just saying that, you know, by its very definition, microfinancing is counterintuitive. It's giving money to the poor. So whenever you're giving money to someone who doesn't have any collateral, there's a lot of risk that you have to assume there. So it is true that a lot of purely just microfinancing programs fail. But if you're familiar with what is called the Poverty Lab, they've been studies, and also the research that we're also getting from our organization is that when microfinancing is partnered with savings and accountability, and training and education is very successful. So at MPA, we have a repayment rate that's over 80%, and I think that's success. People are starting businesses, and they're able to thrive in those businesses. Of the members that get into our microfinancing groups, after at least 3 years of being in those groups, we poll them again to see how many still have businesses that are making a profit, and that number is over 73%. So I think looking at the fact that these are people who are in extreme poverty, we are targeting people in extreme poverty, and they for 3 years have an income generating business, that's able to give them savings of at least 1 month to say, I can pay my bills, but I still have at least 1 month's worth of bills in the kitty. I think that shows, a level of success. So I do believe that, yes, we are targeting people that are in extreme poverty, but we are also making sure that they are moving from poverty to possibility. In terms of the scholarships, we don't decide the program that the people in the scholarship programs are going to get into. We have specific targeted scholarships. We call them the Barbara Moore scholarships that are for midwives. But we don't have any specific scholarship that's going to target teachers or people in the education sector. I can tell you that we have students who are doctors. If you go on our website, we are showcasing one of our students. Her name is Dahlia. She's now a doctor. She's from Uganda. And when I was in Zambia, I met a student who's completing at, I think, the University of Lusaka, a degree in physiotherapy. So we do have like a wide range. But again, we don't choose who's going to get the scholarship. It's the partner who chooses them based on need.
And one thing to add to Prim is I think what's unique about MPA and having the local partner in the groups, you'll see our programs have grown to kind of provide those wraparound services that address other issues the group members are facing, where a lot of traditional microfinance, they only care about the loan and the repayment and the money. But we've started to focus on health, water, education, and we listen to the partners and try to help remove the barriers that are causing people to not be successful. So that's another kind of unique part of the MPA program. I know Prim just referenced our website. Our website is microfinancingamerica.org. If anybody wants to check it out, you can read more about our programs. We have explainer videos and more information in general, but that's microfinancingamerica.org.
Awesome. Well, so we are actually at the 1 hour, 30 minutes mark. You guys have been great, went above and beyond with information. And as we like to say at St. Paul's, we like to appreciate your expertise and, your generosity of time and, just what you're doing for our communities back in Zambia and Zimbabwe, Uganda, Congo, Tanzania, Zanzibar. All those, we're just all connected, so to speak. And I'm hopeful that with the information that you've given us and your contacts that you've given us, some people are going to reach out to you, via email or WhatsApp, any ways they can, because some of these questions are going to keep, coming up. And we shall make the video recording available to our networks so we can spread the word about the good things that you guys are doing.
We appreciate everyone's time and thank you even more for allowing us to be here. We would love anyone that has questions, wants to get involved anyway, please reach out. We'd be happy to answer more questions, speak individually, but we appreciate your time and your listening and the help in spreading our mission.
Absolutely. So seeing no more contributions from the group, would like to just end this session and I wish you guys have a good weekend and we'll talk offline.
Great, thank you very much.
Thank you everybody for coming. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Yep, take care. Okay.
Prof,